Hi everyone, welcome back to another week of Families in an Electronic World. This week we are into our parenting section of the course. As you know, we had a good discussion this past week on the Northwestern survey and the idea about should parents get passwords to their kids' social media accounts, etc. I thought it was a good discussion. In this next week we're going to be talking about another topic related to parenting. The topic of sharenting, or how much information should parents share about their children over social media. So I'm looking forward to a good discussion on that this next week. The last week of this segment, so the materials will be for you to read and in this case listen to this week, and then we'll have the discussion about it next week, has to do with a topic that I suspect is pretty close to the heart for many of you, maybe most of you in this class, because it has to do with the way in which parents stay connected with their kids who are away at college. And there have been some interesting changes in that over the years, particularly with the advent of cell phones and smartphones and email and now social media. So lots of changes have occurred. And by way of context, let me give you an example, and this is from my own experience, because when I was in college I went to a school several hundred miles away from home, and stayed there really from the time I started in September until Christmas. I didn't come home over the course of the semester. And about every 2 weeks I would troop down to a phone at the end of the hall, and I'd give my parents a collect call. And part of the reason I didn't call so often was because I was just really busy doing my own thing. But some of it was also that collect calls were expensive, and you really couldn't make them very often, and it just didn't make a lot of sense. So I'd make a collect call and talk with my parents for 10 or 15 minutes about what was going on at school, and let them know I was okay, and that was kind of the end of that. If I was really ambitious, I might write a letter. I know my mom probably wrote more letters to me than I wrote back to them, but that was a way in which we stayed in touch. Well, it's such a different world now, because students and their parents stay in touch on a very regular basis, at least in many, if not most cases. And a lot of that's due to just the electronic communications we have at our fingertips. It's easy to shoot off an email, or to send a text message, or to comment on a shared Facebook page, or even just to pick up the phone and call, because it's not costing an arm and a leg to do a collect call. So things have really changed, and the question is this a good thing, or is this not so good? And so that really will be the emphasis of the question that we have next week when we discuss this issue. But to get us ready for that, there are two resources for this week, and they're related. One is a chapter from a book by Hofer and Moore. Hofer conducted a study at two universities, one a private school in the Northeast, another, I believe it was the University of Michigan, so a large public university, and she asked, how often do you call home, and why do you call home, and what do you call home about, and or how often do you stay in touch with your parents, how often do your parents call you, those sorts of questions. So it's really fascinating what she discovered when she asked students about this. And then there's also a podcast, an audio podcast from NPR Morning Edition show from a couple of years ago that really talks about the same issue. It just kind of talks about it from a little bit different angle, but very similar in content, because it's asking the question, so the way parents and kids stay in touch these days, is this a good thing? What's good about it? Maybe what's not so good about it? And that really would be the focus of our discussion for not this week, but the week following. Okay, I'll look forward to seeing you online.